So what's going on, everybody? So I thought we would do a live stream today, just because one of my subscribers had an idea that we should do a live stream and talk about some Guns N' Roses stuff and give you guys an update of where my channel is at. And the one thing I wanted to talk about is that I'm probably going to do the live streams every time I hit a milestone on my channel. So, we just hit 7,000 subscribers, so that's incredible. And so I thought I might just open it up to you guys. We can talk about Guns N' Roses. We can talk about any questions you guys may have. And I want to give you guys a sneak peek of what I'm going to be doing on my channel this week. So on Friday, there's actually going to be one podcast. And then on Sunday, we're going to have a second podcast where I'm going to have different guests on. So the podcast on Friday, I got in touch with one of the guys from Guns N' Roses, which is probably the most best-known Guns N' Roses cover band. And they've played with a bunch of former members of Guns N' Roses. They've played with Steven Adler, who was their drummer for a bit. They played with, what's his name? Played with Gilby Clarke. I can't try to think who else. They probably played with Bumblefoot and a couple other guys. And they're also going to talk about Vicky Hamilton, I think, as their manager, who was the original manager for Guns N' Roses. So I think it'll be a really interesting interview. Hopefully we can get it to work out, because I think he's doing it on a phone. So hopefully it'll be a good podcast on Friday. And then if you guys remember Kevin, who was on a couple months ago, or maybe it was a month or two ago, he's going to be back on Sunday, and we're going to talk about his fantastic Guns N' Roses collection and just talk about, what's going on with the band, and maybe get his thoughts on the whole thing and what does he think is going to happen in LA on the 30th anniversary of Appetite. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about. I want to know from you guys, do you have any questions you want me to talk about in this live stream? Just throw them in the chat and we can discuss it. And I'll give you guys an update on what else I'm doing on my channel. So I just shot another episode of Guns N' Roses True Story today. And, before you know it, I'm hoping in probably 8 months, I've done every single Guns N' Roses song as part of that series. And then you guys can go back and watch any of them you'd like. So let's look at some of the questions. We got a question from Eddie Romero. Favorite Guns N' Roses song? This changes day by day, but I would say Estranged is probably my go-to song. I have both versions of it on my iPod. I have the live version from Live Era, and then I've also got, of course, the studio version too. At one point, I actually had the instrumental of the song, just like the piano playing, which was really good, because I think the piano is excellent in that song. But yeah, Strange is probably up there, pretty tied up. I've been listening a lot to. Back Off Bitch is probably another one that, a lot of people don't like the song, but I actually like it. I think it's one of some of Slash's best guitar playing, even though he didn't actually write the song. So I think those are probably some of my favorite songs. Let's see what we got for other questions. Aiden wants to know, is there going to be future music made by GNR? It's always funny that people think I'm going to have the answers to these questions. I don't know any more than you guys do. My guess is that Guns will play Rock in Rio September 23rd, I think the day is, or 21st. After that date, they'll take a break, go home for the holidays, take a couple months off, because they would have just completed the longest leg, I think, of the reunion tour. And then Axel will go with AC/DC. They'll probably do some touring. Slash will go record a new album with his solo project. And then Duff will go to Walking Papers or Loaded and do his thing. I think realistically, the earliest we might see Guns N' Roses releasing anything new would be, I would say 2019. So that's probably my guess. And I think even then, I mean, it's hard to say. I kind of wonder, because Slash is the kind of guy who writes a lot of riffs. So I kind of wonder, is he saving a lot of riffs for Axel, or is he just going to be like, you know what, I'm going to use them for my side project, and that's about it. So that's probably my answer to that question. Jerry wants to know, I want to know why Don't Damn Me has never been performed live. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I just finished doing a True Story episode of it. It's not up on my channel, but Slash actually was asked this question back in 2014 in an interview with a French TV, I think it was like a French media outlet. And the reason Don't Damn Me is not played live is because it's too hard to sing, and there's too many words, and there's not enough of a break for a singer to get some air. So according to Slash, it's too hard of a song to sing, and there's really no breaks in it for the singer to catch his breath. Although the breakdown, I thought, kind of has a break in it, but that's the reason, according to Slash, why they don't play it live, and that's why him and Miles don't play it live. But he said I think he's a big fan of the song, and he likes the guitar riff he came up with. The other question we got is Aiden wants to know, who's your favorite GNR member? My favorite GNR member. Let's just say Chris Pittman's probably my favorite. I'm kind of disappointed he got kicked out of the band, but he's probably my favorite. Virgo Rose says Singapore gigs is good. Sound is great. Only November Rain, he's not as great as before. Yeah, I've noticed like November Rain, ever since like Rock in Rio 3, Axel's always sang that song like with a really clean voice. And then you listen to like the Illusion Days and he's saying like in a really raspy kind of voice. And I like his raspy voice when he sings November Rain. And I even notice like a Strange is like that too. But I kind of wonder sometimes, like, I mean, he said in an interview a while back that he was trying to go for a cleaner voice. And I know people want to bring up the issue of rasp and stuff, but maybe it's something that Axel prefers to sing those songs with a cleaner voice these days. Let's see what you guys are saying. Tony says, My World rocks. Hashtag industrial Guns N' Roses kicks ass. Hashtag silkworms. So let me know, are you guys fans of My World? I did a true story about it a while back, and I was kind of surprised to see the number of people that actually like the song. So let's talk a little bit. If you guys have any more questions, just submit them in the chat and we can talk about it. Upside Down Ben is wanting to know, is Steven Adler going to play soon in the Not in This Lifetime tour? Maybe back to the USA region. So if you guys saw his interview or heard his interview with Eddie Trunk, I don't think there's any plans for him to play anytime soon. He was offered to come play one of several shows they were doing. So Steven said the band made him an offer to either play in Australia, New Zealand, or Thailand, or I think it was Japan. And he said no because they only wanted him to play one song. And, it's kind of unfair to Steven to fly, 15 hours or however long the flight is just to go play one song. Like at his age, especially when he's 53, that's not easy to do. So I can understand why Steven was disappointed with that. So I think Steven will play with Guns again. I think it'll be at the 30th anniversary of Appetite. I think Fernando, who he spoke very highly of, will have something in the back of his head. Maybe he'll do all the Appetite songs and Frank will play Chinese Democracy and some of the Illusion songs. So that's probably when I think Steven will show up. As for Izzy, you can take a wild guess as what's going to happen with Izzy. I don't really know, but hopefully he shows up soon. Dual wants to know opinion of Perfect Crime. I really like Perfect Crime. That's going to be coming up on my True Story episodes. Interesting fact, guys, Perfect Crime dates back. The first time it was ever played live was in 1986. And it was played like once, and then it was never played again until 1991. So, yeah, Perfect Crime is an interesting song. It's been around for a while. It actually was used to open some of Guns N' Roses' early shows on the Illusions tour. Some of those early shows on the Illusions tours were incredible because they would open with like a random song. It could be Right Next Door to Hell, Perfect Crime. There was one show they opened up with You Could Be Mine. So, I mean, you never knew what you were going to get. And that's kind of a huge criticism that a lot of people have of this version of the band because they don't, they basically play the same number of songs the same set list night after night. They're throwing in Yesterdays and My Michelle and Sorry is played here and there, but overall it's still the same set list. Lefty Laurie says, hey, 53 ain't that old, laugh aloud. No, 53 is not old. It's just that, when you're traveling, 53 it's a lot harder to travel when you're 53 than compared to when you're 30. So let's see what else you guys are saying. What do you think of Axel trying to go industrial? Yeah, you know what? I don't like the song Oh My God. I thought it was a good example of probably where Axel wanted to go with Guns N' Roses, and we kind of heard that on Chinese Democracy. But I still think Chinese Democracy has some good songs. I think the title track's great. I think that Better is a really good song. I think Street of Dreams is really good. I think There Was a Time is really good. Catcher in the Rye is another good song. The rest of the album, I could probably take it or leave it. But yeah, I think there's definitely stuff worth listening to, but I think it's just unfortunate that this album kind of sounds a little too overproduced. But I mean, it's an Axel album, so I mean, what would you expect? Jerry says they should still play Don't Damn Me. I'm not buying Slash's excuse on that one. I've heard cover bands play it. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, Axel sang Garden of Eden before live, and I mean, that's a song that there's no breaks pretty much for the singer, even though it's not as long as Don't Damn Me. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. GNR should play Pretty Tied Up live. Absolutely agreed. So the last time they played Pretty Tied Up was in April of 92 in Oklahoma. That's one of the few shows that was stolen from the actual crew, and showed up on YouTube. So if you guys want to see the last time it was played, go check it out. The first time Pretty Tied Up was played live was at Rock in Rio back in 91. And that is a really cool performance because there's an Axel cam and there's a Slash cam. So you can see Axel during the entire song and the camera's just focused on him. And then you can see Slash the entire song and the camera's focused on him. And that's one thing I really like about the Rock in Rio 2 concert is that they actually do that. So go check it out if you guys haven't. And I just finished doing Pretty Tied Up True Story today. So it'll be coming up on my channel somewhat down the road. XXA5 says, we will never hear Perfect Crime live ever again. No way Axel could sing that. You know, it's weird. Perfect Crime showed up on the alternate set list that was on last year. And I think anything's possible. I mean, Slither was on that set list too. So I think we'll see some more songs added to the set list and changed as part of the North America tour. So I think Yesterday's will become a pretty good staple. Like it'll be played more often. I think Perfect Crime may show up, but I think you'll see some of the deeper cuts definitely show up on the North America tour and Europe tour as well. So let's see what you guys are saying. Tony says he misses the Buckethead era. How many of you guys are Buckethead fans? Let me know in the chat. Let's see. I'm one of the few. Lefty Laurie says, I'm one of the few that like the Chinese Democracy. I still like the album. I think it's really good. And while we're on the topic of Chinese Democracy, how many of you guys watched my video today where there's the clip of Slash playing what appears to sound like a really similar riff to the actual title track. Like it's got that stopping and starting riff at the beginning. And apparently Slash played something similar in 1988 at a show in Japan. So I want you guys to go check it out if you guys haven't already, and let me know. Like I listened to that clip and it sounds really similar to what ended up on the actual album. But one of my subscribers said that in an interview, Josh Reese said he's the one who wrote the actual riff to the actual song. So I think it's just a coincidence. You know, a lot of the times when Slash comes up with riffs, I'm sure he would use it on his own album. But there's a clip from 1993 in Paris when I think they were playing Double Talk and Jive, and you know the extended outro they do with the song. If you listen to it, there's some riff he's playing that sounds very similar to something he played on his 2010 solo album. So sometimes he probably just hangs on to riffs too, and they don't make it to his record until, you know, a long way down the road. So I mean, who knows? But I don't think that Slash came up with that riff for sure. So Mr. Jones wants to know why not Bad Obsession. I would love to see them play Bad Obsession. That's another, I think, really underrated tune, and it's a great Izzy Stradlin song too. And if you guys are just tuning in, the reason I'm doing a live stream today is because we hit 7,000 subscribers on Sunday or Monday. So every time I think I hit 1,000 subscribers, like additional. So when I hit 8,000, 9,000, so forth, I'll probably do a live stream with you guys. Or if there's some like super huge breaking news, I'll definitely do that. Let's see. Tony says, my favorite gun show was Rock in Rio 2001. Yeah, you know, it must have been exciting to actually be a Guns fan then, because, you know, for almost 5 or 6 years, Axel was not really seen much live. And then, you know, he started making these appearances and we started to hear new music. And yeah, it's kind of funny to listen to the 2001 show and listen to Axel's voice now. I actually almost like his 2001 voice better than his 2016 or 2017 voice. Let's see what else you guys are saying here in the chat. Jedi Beast Mode says, do you think Guns will put a song like Anastasia on the alternate set list? You know what? I would love it if they played that song. That's probably one of my favorite Slash songs from any of the solo stuff he's done. I would love it if they would do that. I think at some point they'll have to do it. I mean, Fall to Pieces was a song that Axel claimed that Slash played to him when he was still in Guns, and they never got a chance to record. Although Slash kind of disputes that and said he came up with the song around 2002. But I think Fall to Pieces they could definitely play live. But, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Slither was on the alternate set list, so it's possible they will play some of Velvet Revolver stuff or Slash's stuff. Let's see what else you guys have been saying here. Jen says, I've seen GNR many times. I've never heard them perform Get in the Ring. Have you? That would be a great crowd pleaser, I think she means. So Get in the Ring, which I did a True Story episode about, was never performed live. The actual audience you hear at the beginning of the actual song is from a show that Guns played back in 1991 in Saratoga Springs, New York. Basically, Axel told the crowd, this was before the albums came out, and he said, "We need you guys to chant 'Get in the Ring.' It's going to make it on the actual record." And basically the crowd just repeated what Axel wanted them to say. So that's why it's on the track. The reason it was never performed live is because, according to Axel, the song spoke for itself, and they didn't really feel a need to perform it live. So I don't think it'll ever be performed live. And yeah, that's basically it for Get in the Ring. It's actually, I know a lot of people don't like the song. I like the song a lot. It was originally called Why Do You Look at Me When You Hate Me? That was the title Duff came up with. And then they changed it to Get in the Ring. And then when they toured with the Illusions records, there were some parts of the legs of the tour that was called Get in the Ring Tour, Get in the Ring and Mother Effer Tour. And that's a little info on the song. Dual03 says GNR adding US tour dates. Example, New York. I think it's possible. If you guys look at Guns N' Roses touring schedule, they have a lot of gaps in between some dates. Like they have a 4-day gap, a 3-day gap. So I think they may have done that for two reasons. The band's older. They can't play shows every night or every other night. And I think they did it for a second reason, is that if the tickets sell well, then they'll probably add additional shows. But I mean, New York, they already played from what I can remember back last summer. So I don't see that happening, but I think they definitely could add some more shows depending on how the tickets sell. Where I live, the tickets have not been selling well at all because I searched online and I was still able to get front row seats, and it wasn't general admission. It was sitting, but there was still plenty of good tickets. So if you guys have been waiting to get GNR tickets, you should still be able to get them, I assume. Also, the economy where I live is kind of in a really bad shape, so people can't spend money on Guns N' Roses tickets. Jen says Starlight Rocks. Yeah, I do like that song. That's one of two songs that Miles sang on. Silver Doman wants to know, wonder how much weight Axel has lost during the tour. He looks thinner. Yeah, I mean, he kind of wears like baggy clothes, like baggy shirts. So I don't know. He looks like he's getting thinner. His arms look pretty big from what I've read, that he's been working out a lot more than what he's been doing the last couple of years. What It Takes to Be an Idiot says they should play rapid fire songs. Yeah, I don't know if they will. There was a whole lawsuit with Kevin Lawrence and Rapid Fire. And if you guys watch the podcast on Sunday, I think Kevin could probably give you some more information on that whole thing. I haven't been paying attention too much to it, but I remember there was a lawsuit involved with releasing some of that older stuff. Aiden wants to know, who's your favorite original band member? I had always said Slash, but I can tell you the one guy that I keep going back to is, I think Izzy is probably my favorite original band member. That dude's really underrated. I feel like he never got the credit he was due. I mean, he wrote some of their best stuff. That's not to say Axel and Slash can't write great songs, but I think Izzy's probably my favorite. I think looking at their solo records, I think Izzy's stuff is probably my favorite too. I even like Izzy better than Slash when it comes to his solo stuff. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Predictions. C. Cantrell says, prediction: since Cliff Williams is leaving AC/DC, Duff will replace him for the upcoming tour and album. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a rumor going on in the summer that was going to happen, that Duff was going to replace him? I think it's possible, but it's going to get to a point where it's like, okay, well, there's more members of Guns N' Roses in AC/DC than there are original members of AC/DC, and I kind of wonder how fans would feel about that. I would think that they would maybe get somebody in the AC/DC family to fill in for him. Jerry says Kevin died, didn't he? Yeah, from what I remember, Kevin Lawrence, I thought he passed away. Like, he was trying to get the stuff released, and then the whole lawsuit happened, and unfortunately he passed away, from what I can remember reading on the forums. Christian says, what is the rarest bootleg that you have? You know what? I don't collect bootlegs, but I have stumbled across some rare Guns N' Roses interviews that I'm going to be putting up on my channel in probably the coming weeks. There's one from 1991 that Duff did, and then there's one I discovered yesterday. It's of Slash from 1995, and I don't want to say too much, but it's actually a pretty good interview, and that'll be going up on my channel in the coming weeks as well, so you guys can stay tuned for that. In terms of performances, I don't really have any bootlegs. I'm not really the right guy to ask. I tend to like interviews more because I don't know, I find them, you can get a lot more insight, from talking to the band members and just watching them play, but I would love to see some rare stuff. One thing I'm considering doing is going and contacting a lot of the news networks that live in my city, because Guns N' Roses have played in my city before, and you can actually go to them and ask them for their archival footage. So I was going to give them the dates of when Guns N' Roses has played old concerts and see if they have any pro shot footage of like their news report they must have done about Guns N' Roses, because Guns N' Roses coming to my town in 1993 was probably the most exciting thing that ever happened that whole year in my town. So I that's something I'm thinking of doing, but they charge you money to go do it. So I'm going to see if I can maybe get some rare footage that way. Jedi Beast wants to know, what's your favorite part of the movie It's So Easy and Other Lies? You know what? I didn't think it was a very good movie. I did a review of it. I think the book is much better. But if I have to say one thing I like how I like the cartoon animations they did. I thought that was really cool. And I actually liked the way that Duff kind of told the story. Like, they had the live concert, and then they had these really cool new arrangements on the Appetite for Destruction songs. I thought that was kind of cool. But other than that, it's a mediocre movie in my opinion. Like, if you guys are fans, you should still watch it. But that's about it. Wow, you guys are typing so much stuff. Yeah, Jen, I agree. The book is much better. If you could do yourself a favor and go get Duff's book, it's much better than Slash's book too. That's what I think. Keep the Focus wants to know, do you know if deluxe reissues of Appetite and Illusions are on the horizon? Imagine to hear those demos, coma separated tracks. Well, let me ask you something. When they reissue albums, do they normally release the master recordings? I thought they don't release separated tracks or anything like that. But there are a bunch of Guns N' Roses demos you can hear on YouTube. Like, there's not every single demo, but there's, for a lot of songs, there's like alternate mixes or rough mixes or just instrumentals. I would probably say you can go look on YouTube for that. I think Appetite will get re-released. Like, that's something every band does. Appetite will get re-released. And remember, guys, in 4 years, it's going to be the 30th anniversary of Use Your Illusion. So I'm sure they're going to do something special for that. So that's probably my opinion of it. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Have you read, Jen wants to know, have you read Duff's other book? Yes, I actually bought Duff's both of his books. And his second book, it's good, but his first book is so well written that the second book left me a bit disappointed. If you guys haven't read a second book, it's kind of a collection of articles that he wrote for that column, I think, in Seattle Weekly. And it's a good book. It's nowhere near as good as his first book. But it's still worth checking out if you guys are Guns N' Roses fans. I read it about 2 years ago, so I don't recall exactly how much new stuff about GNR there was. I mean, he probably talked about playing with Axel, which in a little bit more detail and stuff like that, but I think that was probably it. Dual 3 do you think instead of replacing people with Frank or Richard, they should have replaced with younger musicians? No, I don't think it really matters who they would have replaced. To me, they could have replaced it with anyone and it wouldn't feel the same. Like, they should have rightfully replaced Frank with Steven or Matt, and I think they should have replaced Richard with Izzy. But if they had gotten younger musicians, I don't know how that would have felt. I think it may have felt the same way that people feel about Melissa being in the band. I don't have any issues with her being in the band, but a lot of people on the forums just can't stand her. So yeah, so that's basically that's my opinion on it anyways. Bailey wants to know, thoughts on GNR's Most Dangerous Band in the World documentary never airing in North America. So I saw the documentary. I don't know if you guys did. So it got posted on YouTube, and then I linked to it on my channel, and then they blocked my video that linked to the other video. And yeah, that was disappointing. But if you guys haven't seen it, the BBC documentary, which you might be able to get online somewhere if you look hard enough, it's actually not bad. It's actually really good. And they actually have some footage from the Illusions tour that I've never seen before. It was actually, I think, Mark Cantor's footage. He went to, I think, all 4 nights that Guns played at the Forum and recorded it with like Handycam. And it's really nice footage. There's interviews with Matt Sorum. There's interviews with Steven Adler. I'm trying to remember who else they interviewed. They use a lot of archival footage, but there's some really interesting stuff that I hadn't heard before about Guns N' Roses, and it's a really good documentary. It's not the best, but it's definitely in my top 4, top 3 for sure. Yeah, Bailey's right. It was supposed to air in the US on Showtime, but for some reason it never aired. And originally, I believe it was supposed to be a Slash documentary, but then the reunion happened, and then I think the director said, well, we should just encompass it to include the entire band. And at the end of the documentary, they talk about the reunion a bit as well. So let's see, Riot Girls 77 says there's an awesome book called The Sunset Strip Diaries. There's a story where the author saw Axel eating alone at the Rainbow, surrounded by bodyguards. Lots of other good stories. Oh, I've never heard of that book, but I'll definitely have to check it out. I'm curious about that one. It kind of reminds me of like the story you talked about Axel eating alone. Have you guys seen that video on YouTube called, I think it's called Have You Seen Axel Rose? And it's about all like the rare Axel sightings that people saw between like 1996 and 2001. And one of them is of Axel eating alone at the Hard Rock Cafe. And like Paradise City comes on over the actual stereo, and like he's all embarrassed because of it. But it's a cool documentary if you guys go check it out. Jerry says, it was on TV over here and I recorded it off TV Skybox, then it disappeared and couldn't find it again. Yeah, you know what? I don't know if it's on any of the file sharing sites, but I wish I would have downloaded it. Sadly, I did not download it. I think one of you guys asked me, do I have any bootlegs? I just remembered I don't have any bootlegs, but I did find a video from Coachella. It was Guns N' Roses playing November Rain and I think Knocking on Heaven's Door. But I think it was like shot with a drone or something. And it was like in a super widescreen angle. And maybe it was in 3D. I remember I posted it on my channel and immediately got taken down. It was like super duper copyrighted. So I couldn't post it on my channel and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll post it on Facebook. But I'll have to dig it up and see exactly where I put it. But it was a really cool video that somebody sent me. And it was really good quality from Coachella because we haven't really got any pro shop footage from that concert. XXA5 says, what's your favorite book about GNR? I haven't read all the GNR books. I still have to read Steven's book. Well, my favorite, I would say it's probably Duff's book or Reckless Road. I'm right now reading Reckless Road. It's the Mark Cantor book. It's such a beautifully put together book. Like, I love the way he presents everything. Like, he's got like the ticket stubs. He's got the photos from like all those early gigs and just the way everything's laid out. It's just done so well. So if you guys love like early Guns N' Roses, you have to go get that book. It's really well done and highly recommend it. Duff's book is fantastic. Slash's book is good. I found that Slash's book was a little too excessive with like how much drug use he was, like how many drugs he was using. Mick Wall's book, I did a review on actually. It's up on my channel if you guys want to go check it out. I thought Mick Wall's book was a lot better than I thought it was going to be because I had heard so many bad things about his Axel book. But Mick Wall's book is definitely worth reading. He interviews Doug Goldstein and Alan Niven for it, so it's got some credibility to it. And it was a lot of stories that I hadn't heard before about like what Axel's mental state was like around the time Slash left and how he was almost suicidal and stuff. Like, I don't know if I believe that, but it was at least something new I hadn't read before about Guns N' Roses. Christian wants to know, do you have some rare GNR memorabilia? No, I don't really have any rare Guns N' Roses memorabilia. The best guy to ask is a guy who's coming on my podcast this weekend, Kevin. He's got some insanely rare stuff that I didn't even know existed, and he's got a shrine in his house. So we're going to be talking a bit about that. Bailey said, that's a good book. Nice to see set lists from back in the day and some Illusion songs. Yeah, if you guys go read Mark Cantor's book, it's kind of crazy. You'll see some of Guns N' Roses gigs like in 1986. They're playing Perfect Crime, and they're talking about even some of the Illusion songs. It's definitely one of the best Guns N' Roses books. So if Keep the Focus says, which edition of Mark Cantor's book is recommended, the first or second? I bought the edition that says autographed copy on it. I don't know if that's the first edition, but I mean, it's a decent sized book. I'm assuming I maybe got the first edition of it because I think I went and bought it as soon as it came out. Michael McLaughlin says, I feel like Slash was trying too hard to sound cool in his book. Yeah, if you guys have ever read the Cantor banter section of My GNR, it's a section where Mark Cantor used to go answer questions. Like any questions you could think of, he would go answer. And he did say a number of times that Slash purposely tries to act cool or come off as cool. And yeah, his book kind of seemed that way. Like when he died and for like 8 minutes in San Francisco or Oakland, he kind of like shook it off and said, oh, whatever. I just got up the next day and like checked out of the hospital when I played the gig. And yeah, it comes across as like trying to act a little bit too cool. So yeah, absolutely. I kind of agree with that. But the Fire Guy says, did you go to a GNR concert? No, I'm going this summer. I'm going towards the end of this tour. I think August 31st is the day I'm going to the concert. I was way too young when Guns came through my city, like the original band back in, I think they were here in 87 or 88, then 93. And I could have gone in 2010 when Axel was here, but I was like a lot of fans. Like I followed GNR back then, but to me, it wasn't Guns N' Roses. I did see Slash play live with Miles Kennedy back in 2012. And I think, yeah, he put on a great show. Like Slash is a great guitar player. I think that band he plays with is amazing. Lefty Laurie said, Axel said he told Slash that some of the stuff never happened. Yeah, if you guys saw the Chinese exchange interview back in, what was it, June or July, Axel said that he told Slash that some of the stuff in his book was made up and then never happened. Although he didn't say what he was referring to, I think he probably had a lot to do with the contractual stuff that Slash claimed in his book, how Axel wouldn't go on stage unless, you know, they signed over the rights to the name or whatever. So Jen says, my first GNR concert, I was 10 and they opened for Aerosmith. Been a fan for a long time. I'm so jealous of all you people. Like I was 1 year old. I was 1 year old when that would have happened. But to see Guns N' Roses back in like 87 or 88, like when they were like, you know, they didn't have any backup singers. They didn't have the horn section. They were just raw rock and roll. That must have just been epic. I mean, I had so many people tweeting me saying, oh yeah, my mom saw GNR back in 87, 88. I think when Kevin was on the show, he talked about he saw Guns in like 87. He didn't even know who they were. It was just some band who was opening or playing this gig, and he was blown away by it. Jedi Beast Mode says, the show in Philly was the best GNR concert I've been to. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I bought really bad seats because it's just so expensive, but I think I might upgrade my tickets the day of because I think there'll still be lots of tickets left to actually get. Let's see. Dan Duel says, anyone think it's weird how it seems like Axel only owns 3 shirts? I think Axel probably has more than 3 shirts. Like I've seen him wear a couple different outfits on this tour. You know, in my opinion, I think he needs to lose the ripped jeans. I saw a picture of him with Angus back when he just started touring with AC/DC, and he was wearing shorts, and his shorts look fine. I feel like, you know, running around in jeans is like really hard, especially if he's wearing like boots and stuff. I know he sometimes wears those Converse sneakers, but yeah, I mean, I don't care much for all the jewelry and the crosses and stuff. I mean, he didn't wear as much of that stuff back in the day, but now he seems to just like have tons of bracelets and jewelry and whatnot. But Work in Progress 243 says, I have front row tickets for August. I'm totally jealous. I don't know if I'll be able to pay enough money to actually get front row tickets. Why does Axel use a cane? I think Axel uses a cane because it looks cool. I don't think he actually needs a cane because he can run around on stage totally fine. But if you look at the cane he's using, like it's a really nice looking cane. I mean, I would probably use it too, and I'm not even anywhere near his age. Tony says, I saw Guns play with Metallica in 91 at the LA Coliseum. And maybe he means 92. That must have been another great show. I mean, to see Guns and Metallica play, you know, back in that stadium tour days, they were supposed to play a lot more cities than what they actually played. But for example, like where I live in Canada, Ottawa is the capital city. Guns and Metallica were supposed to play that city, but the actual council and mayor did not want them to play because Guns would go on so late that bus service wouldn't be available at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So people wouldn't have a way of getting home. And if they had been inebriated or drinking too much, it was too much of a public liability for them to go, allow Guns to come and play. And then Lefty Laurie says Slash wears a lot of bracelets too. Yeah, I agree. I wear bracelets too, not as many as Slash, but it's definitely inspired by him, I would say. But if you guys look at like some of Slash's Snake Pit video, like his interviews back in 95, I think that was like the time he wore the most bracelets. Like he's like, this could be like 10 pounds of bracelets he's wearing. Chef Robert says, I was in St. Louis, but got out in time. The 91 Riverport riot. I think that show in St. Louis in the summer is going to be really interesting because I'm sure Axel will say something about it. Something like, oh, it's been a long time, St. Louis. I'm glad to be here. Riot Girl says, my guitar teacher has some awesome stories about GNR concert in my town in 91. He was also in a pretty good cover band called Rocket Queen. Pretty good. I know some of the YouTube videos of them. Luke wants to know, what's your favorite Slash guitar solo of GNR? Mine, for the longest time, it's the first guitar solo in Estranged. And I think it's still that one. I think his first guitar solo in Strange is probably my favorite. The thing I love about Slash's guitar playing is that he plays with so much emotion, and he's not one of these shredders who just plays, a bunch of fast notes just for the sake of it. Whatever he plays always fits the song, and that's what I really like about his guitar playing. Keep the Focus says, if the spirits are true, Izzy would be there, being okay with everyone in the camp. Hairbase, I was at the Use Your Illusion tour opener in East Troy. That seems like a really good show. I wanted to know, Hairbase, was Guns N' Roses on time like at that show? Because one thing I've noticed the last couple shows, they've been late. Like in Thailand, they were like 20 minutes late to the show. In Singapore, I think they were late as well. And then I think in Australia, there was a day or two. But that one concert, I think in Australia, it wasn't their fault. It was because I think the traffic was so bad. But I will probably wrap things up here, guys. I'm starting to lose my voice, but I'll maybe take 2 more questions. And then if you guys missed the actual live stream, it'll be up on my channel in probably 10, 15 minutes. So hit me with your best questions, and then we can wrap up the show. And I just want to thank you guys for making this channel so awesome. And if you guys go follow me on Facebook, I'm actually posting a bunch of exclusive content there that you can't find on my YouTube channel. So it's kind of a way to twist your arm to go check out my Facebook page. It's down in the description box below. So let's see. Duel 3. I already answered the GNR new album. I don't know if they're going to release a new album. I would say 2019 is probably the earliest we would see one. Or I think we might see maybe a movie will come and offer Guns N' Roses money, kind of like what Terminator 2 did back in the day. So I think a new Guns N' Roses album will basically be the Chinese Democracy leftovers. Whatever Axel has sitting in the vault, he'll show to Slash and Duff, or maybe he sort of hinted he already has, and that's what would appear on a new Guns N' Roses album. Jasper MK wants to know, do you think there will be a Not in This Lifetime tour album? I don't think there will be. I think they will put out a live DVD because they've been filming every show, and the LA show, they apparently had some sign about, filming a commercial recording or something. And there's rumors that the Troubadour show may be released as well. So I don't really know. So Keep the Focus says, do we know how McWall, currently captain at Classic Rock Magazine, and Axel is getting along at all? I don't think McWall has talked to Axel at all since 1990. And that's probably my opinion of it. I tried to get McWall on my podcast. He said at that time he wasn't doing interviews. So I think I may have missed the mark a tiny bit. Riot Girl, any reaction to the Adler interviews? It was really disappointing reading some of those, or hearing some of those Adler interviews, like being told that he was going to have a bigger part in the reunion than he actually did, and then him only being able to play 1 or 2 songs. I felt really bad for Steven, considering like he should rightfully be up there playing. He's the one who was in that band and went through everything. But I remember Axel once said in an interview that this was like in 2008, that he would never share the stage with Steven Adler again because of all the liabilities and legal issues. Like he even called his mother a nightmare in the I think it was a live chat, and he said he'd be dealing with ambulance chasing our attorneys or something. So that's basically it. Ricardo, something new about Izzy. Yeah, I don't know where Izzy is. The last we heard from Izzy is that somebody was pretending to be him on Instagram, and he was asking people to not confuse that Instagram account as being an official account. So he just let people know, I'm not on Instagram. Let's see. I saw a clip of you from 2000. GNR would never get together again. Yeah, I probably said in 2015 where Guns N' Roses would never get together again, and I ended up eating my words because, I think like a lot of fans, I thought that after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that there was never going to be any chance of a reunion, but I guess not. But again, I want to thank you guys for the nice comments. I really appreciate that. Jeff says, great show. Hairbase says, hate to say it, but Izzy and Adler participation hinges largely on money. I think that's absolutely true. I think it hinges largely on money. I think, and this is a theory I've heard a lot, is that them not being involved in the reunion has largely to do with Axel's decision, because the normal fans, and by normal I don't mean us who are the hardcore fans, to a normal Guns N' Roses fan who's a casual fan, they only know Axel and Slash. Maybe they know Duff, but they don't really know who Izzy is or who the drummer is, Steven Adler or Matt Sorum. And I think to add them as a full-time member of this tour wouldn't see a significant amount of ticket sales, and I think it would mean less money for the rest of the members. And from what I've read, is Richard, Frank are basically not making any more money than they previously were. So whatever Axel agreed to pay them before, they're not getting a pay increase just because they're playing larger venues and making more money per actual show. So that's probably why I think they're not involved. And even Izzy said they wouldn't want to split the dough. So I think that's really sad. And hopefully, I hope this doesn't hurt their relationship with Izzy. I think it's kind of bogus that Izzy is not getting offered the same amount of money because, from everything Steven said, Izzy wants to do the reunion, but he wants to do it right. So that's probably my opinion. And Izzy has always let it be known that even when Matt Sorum came into the band, it didn't feel right without Steven. I think Izzy and Steven are probably reasonably close because Steven said that him and Izzy do talk, frequently over text. So that's probably my opinion of it. I'd love to see Izzy just like anybody else, but I think it's just a matter of waiting and seeing. Because you remember Izzy left the band in 93. He reappeared back in 2006. He came back in 2012 again. So anything's possible. It seems like him and Axel always tend to patch things up. And XXA says Izzy sold his share in GNR in 91. That's absolutely true. Izzy's no longer part of the partnership, but he still does have his royalties. And that's probably how he's been able to live such a low-key life over these years. So that's probably going to wrap it up for this one. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I want to do this more often whenever I can find a moment to breathe between my normal job and doing this channel. So I'll have another news video up on my channel tomorrow. Guns N' Roses are right now in Dubai. They're going to be playing on Friday night. And then, Saturday, I think we'll have a normal video. Sunday, we'll have another podcast. And make sure you guys tune in on Friday. I think we were aiming for 3 p.m. Eastern. I was going to have one of the fellows from Guns to Roses on. We're going to talk all about the most famous Guns N' Roses cover band. And I have so many questions I want to talk about. So be sure to tune into that. I think it'll be great. Thanks for watching, guys. Have yourself a great night. Airbase, thanks so much for all the love, guys. Really appreciate it. And go show my Facebook channel some love, too, and my Twitter feed. So take care, guys. Have yourself a good night. I will see you again tomorrow morning with some more Guns N' Roses news. Peace and love, as Ringo would say. Thank you so much. Keep the focus. I'm hoping to visit Hungary someday, and as well as Czech Republic, maybe in a couple of years. Take care, guys. Have yourself a good night. Take care.